Uh-oh. Danger. Danger is here. Very dangerous. So, hello. They're cutting the grass, which is beautiful for time lapses. So, I'm at the old American embassy. I'm going to go have a closer look in a minute. It feels a bit post-apocalyptic, to be honest, because you may or may not be aware that it's not just the American embassy in Israel that has changed location, but also the one in London. So today I'm going to go and check out the new one, which, to be honest, is slightly spooky and very symbolic in a certain way, if you know how to read the signs, that is. This weird eagle thing. What the hell is that? This weird eagle thing is going to be staying. You can see they're already starting to gut the building if you peek through the window. It's going to have to be, I guess, debugged. Will they debug it? Well, if it's a hotel and notable people might stay there, maybe they'll carry on bugging it, I don't know. But yeah, embassies and spying sort of go hand in hand, just simply because if there are spies resident in the United Kingdom, their safe haven essentially is their embassy. So wherever there's an embassy for any particular country, there are also spies occasionally chilling out, being briefed and debriefed. And you may be aware that London has lots and lots of tunnels, and it's pretty obvious really that a lot of embassies will have secure basements and maybe escape tunnels and that sort of thing. A lot of the tunnels are known about, and some of the military tunnels have been around for a very, very long time and everybody knows about them, but I speculate that there's a tunnel here which runs from the American embassy down into Mayfair, which has never been like officially talked about or anything. But if you ask me, you've got the American embassy here, because it was essentially like a spy headquarters. I have always presumed that there is a tunnel that runs down the length of South Audley Street here. The South Audley Street is a very, very spooky place, and at the very end of it is the old headquarters of MI5. So it makes sense to me that certain spy buildings are linked together under the ground. I'm just going to take a little wander down South Audley Street, point out a couple of things. South Audley Street is a bit of a strange building. I don't know if you've ever read the book Spy Catcher, which was published in the 1980s, tried to be banned by the United Kingdom because it sort of leaked a lot of weird shenanigans that were going on during the Cold War, primarily to do with how they suspected that the Director General of MI5 at the time, Sir Roger Hollis, was possibly a Russian mole. And in 33 South Audley Street, that's where they did the interrogation, where the MI5 actually, or where MI5 actually interrogated their own Director General, accusing him of being an enemy of the state. Number 33 had been a place already where interrogations were taking place. It was a building that was completely bugged. Like every single room, every flower pot was bugged, and presumably the number 33 was symbolic to maybe intimidate the inhabitants or to let them know the authority that was really interrogating them. I don't know, you can speculate. number 62 South Audley Street used to be the spy shop, the communications equipment shop for spying. So if you want to buy bugs, you bought them from here. It's changed now, it's some kind of boutique, but next door, that's sort of slightly terrifying. Anyway, also in Spycatcher was where it was first properly documented that MI5 and the CIA, British intelligence and American intelligence, were operating as one. Hence possibly the tunnel beneath here connecting to the old MI5 building at the bottom. Oh, there's no danger here, at least not anymore. Leconfield House, or Leconfield, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But yeah, this quite large office building nowadays, up until the late 1970s, was the MI5 headquarters. And it's quite an interesting place, really, in that, you know, the old MI5 headquarters was in Mayfair, and actually the more you look into the history of Mayfair, the more you realise it was essentially like the underbelly of the spy industry for a very, very, very long time. It's where basically all the spies used to hang out. For a while also they took over the building that used to occupy this site. This is a newer structure, I think. But they used to have that building and that building. And my premise is that underneath here is where the corridors start, which lead all the way up to the old American embassy up there. The interesting thing about the old spy headquarters is where they first created the spy club. They were apparently a bit worried about being overheard if they used the normal bars around Mayfair. They thought maybe that the landlady might be a Russian spy and be listening to their conversation, or maybe journalists or other spies might be in it. And so they created their own private bar up on the very top floor, the 6th floor of that building, called the Pig and Eyes Bar. And Pig and Eyes meaning policemen and spies. Sorry, the Pig and Eyes Club. And that really brings me on to the next part of this video. Pigs? So to get to the new American embassy, I'm gonna walk down the riverside. It's got the letter P written on everything for power, I guess. It's all very weird. This, of course, is a pseudo public space. I think technically that I'm not really supposed to be filming here, because in areas that are pseudo-public you only have the illusion of freedom, not actual freedom. So it seems like freedom unless you step outside the boundaries of what a private company deems appropriate behaviour. And then your freedoms can be taken away at a whim. This is so weird. So here we are. So he nearly gets a rundown. Oh my god. So I think I'm going to be just like in and out of here, simply because I've got a feeling if I stick around for too long, the police will start treating me like a terrorist, which is obviously pretty awkward. So we'll sort of go in and out. There's two things Well, the reason I made this video in the first place, there's two things that are interesting, let's say, about this building. The first being what it says on the plaque. It's something actually, the information that's written on the plaque outside the building is stuff that you cannot find anywhere else, and I have looked, you know, it's not on their website, it's not on any blogs or any news articles or anything. It's simply just a few words written on the plaque which sort of tell you something about the building. And yeah, I'm going to, I guess, stay to the public road where my rights are firmly intact, although who knows. There's the American flag. Let's give it a go. I've already seen a policeman looking at me. This is going to be really, really awkward. There is, of course, the mandatory bit of weird art. Weird? It's not that weird, is it, Sam? It's just a foot, isn't it? There's a foot with like a ring embedded in the bottom. That's really bizarre. What's it called? Modern marriage. I'll have to try and figure that out later. The cube. Where is it? American ideals, democracy, peace. that's a funny one. Prosperity and a sustainable future. US dollar, hello. Not that sustainable. Where is it? The colonnade is an open and inviting shelter inspired by the architecture of ancient democracies, which is a weird one, isn't it? Ancient democracies. If you look at, well, if you go ahead and you Google ancient democracies, you are literally only going to come up with one building which represents ancient democracies, and that is, of course, the Parthenon of ancient Greece. And if you look at the Parthenon of ancient Greece as a symbol of democracy, it's really quite hilarious, really, because obviously it was a building designed for the elite, a building that actually represented the separation between the elite minority who were in control of the masses who really, really didn't get any chance at all to really say anything. You couldn't really call it democracy, so there we go. I imagine if I take my camera through there, it's going to get a bit awkward, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it will be, sir, especially if you're walking around filming.
Yeah, well, out here is fine, isn't it? It's just in there. I just wanted to go around the other side, but I'll go the long way around, don't worry. They've all got the special like camera on their hat. This is really weird. I guess that's bog standard communications equipment nowadays. It does, of course, have a moat, big cube with a moat, obviously just to reinforce the minority inside as opposed to the majority outside. And I'm walking the long way around so it doesn't get awkward. Difficult to see, actually, because I'm not going to go in there. There is an army of armed police officers in there, all looking like militant as hell, so I'm not going in there. But yeah, there's a particularly interesting thing about this building, and you will not find it written anywhere around it, but that's the address. And the address of this building is number 33, 9 Elms Lane. Number 33. I can prove it to you just by using the time tunnel of Street View, and also their website, which confirms that it is number 33. And you may remember that Donald Trump called this a lousy site. He said he couldn't really understand why they sold off the old one and moved here when it didn't really seem to make much financial sense. But it's not a lousy site, is it, if you understand the significance of the number 33. In fact, they probably jumped at the chance to get number 33 here. And plus, if you just look a short distance down the road, you will see that building there. That is MI6. And when I was just over there on the other side of the river earlier on, I saw some evidence of tunnel digging. There's some big boring machines over there, so they have been digging tunnels around here. So I think possibly that is the reason that they have moved here, because, you know, being next to an old, you know, Cold War era and Second World War era military bunker is not quite as good as making a brand new military bunker where you can share space and strategy with, you know, better spies underneath the ground. So I think Donald Trump, when he says it's a lousy site and he doesn't really understand why they moved here, I think essentially he's hoodwinking you. He's fooling you into thinking that there's nothing weird and symbolic and strategic about the move of the US Embassy. But I think there is. And about a year ago, I said that, oh, when Sadiq Khan, all those people were saying that Donald Trump won't come to Britain on his state visit. They said he will not come, he's not allowed to come. I said he will come because he has to open up the new American embassy. And of course he is coming on a state visit, but it won't be a real state visit. I believe that he's coming here to see what is under the ground. Hello. It's a very stripy day today. I'm going to be going to Hyde Park in a minute to show you the frankly insane new monument that they put in there. But I've started off in Trafalgar Square, mostly because I wanted to give you, well, I wanted to tell you something that maybe you didn't know about Trafalgar Square, which is quite relevant to this video and mildly interesting. I'm going to read from a blog post. The blog is called Ian Visits, and it's called Unbuilt London, a Giant Pyramid on Trafalgar Square. 200 years ago, a plan was announced to plonk a giant pyramid in the centre of London for no purpose other than to cock a snoot at the French. The idea for the pyramid came from Sir Frederick William Trench, an MP and soldier who wanted to commemorate the defeat of the French at the Battle of Trafalgar, which had taken place just 10 years earlier. At the time, Admiral Nelson wasn't yet the folk hero that he is today, so any proposal to commemorate the battle was less about the man than the war. At the time, proposals for a Nelson's column would have been seen as a very odd thing indeed. So in 1815, Trench became what was to become a rather trenchant campaign that basically seemed to annoy everyone for a giant pyramid to celebrate the great battle against the French. However, the monument wasn't to commemorate the Battle of Trafalgar, but the entire war, and specifically the Battle of the Nile, which the MP saw as the real turning point in Napoleon's imperial ambitions. That was the reason for the pyramid. According to a letter from the architects to Lord Anglesey, the pyramid would have been taller than St Paul's Cathedral and had a base of around 360 feet along each side. Each of the 22 steps would have marked 1 year of the wars. Of course, these lions are very Sphinx-like. So the thing they ended up building in the end was still vaguely based upon ancient architecture. And of course, any artist who might be commissioned to create a relevant monument in central London might look at the history and obsessions of Britain and base it on that. Which brings us to the, again, frankly insane thing they have built in Hyde Park. Yeah, there is an insanely massive, crazy pyramid thing in the middle of the lake, and there is only one proper way to have a really good look at it, and have you guessed it already? God, I have to say, it's bloody hard work, and I can't seem to get anywhere near it. There's some kind of vortex pushing me away, but I'll carry on. I'll see if I can do it. The boat keeps turning around by itself, wants to go back, but no. Oh my God, my legs. Like water vortexes around this thing are insane. I think I'm actually trapped. Try and get a little bit further away. Next time, bring a pedaling buddy. So you may see that this thing is not a pyramid, or rather it's a pyramid with the capstone missing. It's actually a recreation of what was the precursor to the building of the pyramids in Egypt. So it's like ancient architecture. And the piece of art is called mastaba, which sounds naughty, doesn't it? But mastaba was essentially an ancient Egyptian tomb. So this is a very, very potent symbol of death. Death to what though? What is this death symbol, and who is it directed towards? Well, I think I'll talk about that when I'm back on dry land. They all look like they're having a great time, but actually they're just trapped in its vortex. I mean, they're going like, help, we're trapped, come and help us. It seriously does have like a magnetic effect for all those boats. They're all trapped. It's so sad. So yeah, let me read you something about the artist and the person who unveiled this monument. The Guardian has gone with alien mothership. Christo's mastaba floats on London's Serpentine, a 600-ton, 20-metre high work made from 7,000 oil barrels is unveiled on the lake in Hyde Park. What intrigues me about this is that the artist said that it doesn't really mean anything in particular and that it's open to interpretation. So I guess that's what I'm going to do, is going to interpret it. So there are like three things associated with this: oil, death, and America, because this was unveiled by the Mayor of New York, or the ex-Mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg. So there's definitely an American tinge to it. And if you ask me, there's a subtle reference here to the American flag. Because for most people seeing this, they wouldn't think, oh look, it's a massive symbol of death. It's an ancient archetypal symbol which brings subconsciously into the mind the idea of death, and also subconsciously, if you ask me, the idea of America, because it's got the red and white stripes, and if you put it like that, you can kind of see how it's got the blue and the white of the clouds, and then the red and the white stripes of the American flag. So like subtly, it brings about the idea of America, if you ask me. Because if they just, well, say if the artist Christo and the ex-mayor of New York, Michael Bloomberg, put up a big sign saying, we kind of think America is wrecking the planet with oil and we just like America's civilization to die, to, save the planet, there would be, uproar. People would complain if there's a big sign that said death to America. But this is a way where people can absorb the idea of America wrecking the planet and dependent on oil, and when oil dies, America dies, and la la la. They can absorb that idea without actually having to think it with their conscious brain. It's just astounding, really, that such a massive bit of art, such a potent and massive political meaning, could be so subtle that nobody really notices.